Hello, my friends. Welcome to the live stream. It's so good to have you all here. It's nice to be back. Nice to be doing another one of these post-mortem streams. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Am I coming out of the right microphone? What is the technical problem that we're going to have this time? Every time we do a stream, there's always some kind of technical issue. But fingers crossed, this time things will be going relatively smoothly. So hello, and it's nice to be here. Happy Pride to all you L's and G's and B's and T's and all you Q's and all you pluses too. You know, I'm many of those things myself, so I get it. Hello. Amazing. Oh, yay, people can hear me. Yes. Have we done it this time? Have we finally done it? Hi, Lady Frankenstein. You're one of our stream regulars. Good to have you here. Well, hello. Welcome. It's nice to be back. If it's your very first time watching one of these live streams, then hey, double special welcome to you. Let me introduce to you the way that we do things around here. So first of all, if anybody super chats me during the course of the stream, I always do my best to shout those out. Probably best to keep the questions like short and brief because the chat tends to scroll by pretty fast. We'll be talking a little bit about how I made the previous episode of the show, what the feedback was. We'll also be answering the big question that a lot of people had, which was, how did we film this scene with my younger self? More on the movie magic of that later. But first of all, the other thing that we like to do when we start the stream is we like to light a candle. And this time, there's a little bit of a twist in the tale, because a fan of the show, Wesley, has sent me some candles. Turns out a fan of the show works for a candle company, and they sent me this this lovely little fan letter, and also all different candles that they've painted on. Wesley, did you put your pronouns on here? I'm using the cowards they. You didn't. I will go for they, and I apologize if that's incorrect. But they sent me some candles that have been painted with like they painted like scenes from Philosophy on them. So there you go. This is one of them. There's Trixie Mephistopheles on there. Is that? Do I have chocolate ice cream on my? Oh, I do. Sorry, I have chocolate ice cream on my fingers. I may or may not have had some chocolate ice cream on it. So there's Trixie Mephistopheles, and there's Nigella from Food Body Mind. Thank you, Mark Black. Happy Pride to you too. This time when we light the candles, we're gonna light this special one, and it's Pink Blossom, and then Wesley also sent me like 5 more. So let's go ahead and light some special candles instead of our just regular old ones. Where did I put the matches? Oh yeah, and I can turn my fairy lights on too. Although it is quite warm, so I don't know, maybe we don't need candles. I can always blow them out later. Always want to make sure that they're not still hot before you put them in the bin, because otherwise you might set fire to your rubbish. All right, ow, I just kicked my printer. We're off to a fantastic start. Okay, hello, welcome. Candles are lit, and there we are. Welcome to the stream. The hidden candle, says Dill Pickle, yeah. Your room is cool, says Josh Jamrock. Thank you, thanks very much. Yeah, there's a little poster back there for the prince. Somebody says, is that a lesbian manicure? Yes, it is. So you might have seen on social media, I had a, had a little event the other night, which I'll say more about in a future stream. But I had a little movie premiere in London that was pretty exciting, and I decided to get my nails done especially for the premiere. And since the creator of the show that was premiering is a lesbian and was there with her wife, I decided to do a little bit of a rep on the red carpet, and I got myself a nice lesbian manicure. British lesbian manicure. I'm told that American lesbian manicure, it's these two that you have short, which I guess is a difference of technique. Anyway, let's not get into that just now. Let's try and keep it PG reasonably. Anyway, we will talk more about red carpet events and things to which they are attached when the show has come out, which it has not yet. It'll be out on the 4th of June, and you'll be able to see it. And then I think when I get back from this weekend coming up, I'm going to LA for 3 weeks to do a movie. And then I'll be back, and then I'll do a live stream, and we'll talk all about things that happened in a galaxy far, far away. But in the meantime, let's talk about the previous episode that I made, which was called I Read the Most Misunderstood Philosopher in the World, and it was about Judith Butler. It was this one, with this mysterious bit of time travel stuff that we did. So, long-time viewers of the analysis streams will know that I have 3 criteria that I judge my videos by. And if the video meets those 3 criteria, then even if it bombs or does really, really well or whatever it is, then I know I'm happy with it. So the first of the 3 criteria is, was it made from curiosity, not ambition? And this time I have to say, yes, I think it definitely was. I got sent a copy of Judith Butler's new book, Who's Afraid of Gender, which we'll talk more about later on in the section of the stream where I tell you about all the things that I've been reading lately. But I got sent a copy of that, and that got me onto this concept of phantasms, and I was really interested in basically understanding as much of Butler as I could. So, yes, definitely curiosity and ambition. Yes, cool. Thank you for that super chat, Rusty Ralston. The second of my 2 criteria is, what is it again? I've forgotten my own mantra. I forgot my mantra. Oh yeah, is it my unique creative vision? In which case, yes, I think the answer is on the screen. Truly, who else be doing it how Tube be doing it? Who else does time travel stuff like this in video essays? And also, who else has, narrative scenes that play out and tie into the themes of the video? Not many people. I think this is definitely my unique creative vision. And indeed, when I talk about the aesthetics section of the stream where I tell you how I design stuff, then yes, even more so than usual, it's my unique creative vision. So big check there. Thank you so much, Danielle Williams. That's really kind of you to say. That's a lovely super chat. Thank you. And finally, my final criteria is... oh yeah, was it made out of compassion for myself and others? I'm going to give myself a big check here as well. I'm going to say yes, it was, because it would have been very easy for this particular topic and this particular format to become not compassionate to myself. I could have really gotten dark and really flagellated myself here, and we got into a serious place. But I usually have a rule for when I do serious personal art stuff like this, which is that I don't make art about feelings that I haven't processed. And I stuck to that rule this time. So whilst there is some tears and there's some drama in the scenes, this is all the stuff that I'm very happy with. People in the comments saying, oh, was it really difficult for you to do this scene? Not really, actually. This is all stuff that I have processed a while back, and then you process it and then I turn it into art. In general, I have found that for me personally, it's not a good idea to be making art out of stuff that's still raw. So thank you so much, Eliza Wheeler. That's really, really kind of you, and I'm glad. Thank you. So yeah, I'm gonna give myself a big tick. I was really pleased with this video and really happy with the way that it went. Thank you so much for that super chat, Crash, and it's your first super chat on a live stream. Hey ho, nice. Yeah, really happy with this video and the way it came together. Just in me, for me personally. Okay, and now I can tell you a little bit about the aesthetics of it. Oh, but first, Cram 1032, you've got a great question there. So what you bring up in chat, Cram 1032, is that the original plan for this episode was to interview Judith Butler. That was what I wanted to do, and I got chatting to their publicist about the new book, and we got sort of fairly far along in the process, like trying to schedule a meeting because Butler was going to be in the UK on a book tour, and I thought, hey, great, I come and sit down on Philosophy Tube. In the end, it didn't work out. I think it was a combination of things. I think partly it was like a lack of time. I think partly it was, I think Butler tends to stay away from video interviews in particular because of the way that they can be edited up. I read some of the interviews they did do on that book tour, like they did one with the Telegraph, I think, and one with the Financial Times. So it was very much aimed at the kind of mainstream press, and perhaps the idea of like a YouTube channel, as much as like YouTube channel, some people in traditional media especially still have this view that YouTube channels are like unserious. The idea that there can be a sort of serious, not academic, but like academic adjacent channel, a channel with like serious artistic things to say, that is still like, some people are still like YouTube. That's the thing that my kids watch. That's like Mr. Beast, right? Like PewDiePie, right? And so maybe there's a little bit of that in there, but no hard feelings. And in the end, what I decided to do was like, oh, well, I can't do the interview, which is what I really wanted to do. So what else could I do? And so thank you, Jose Martin, for that super chat. So I decided, okay, I want to do something that pushes the boat out. I want to do something that dramatizes and brings to life Butler's work. And my original plan was just to talk about my own memories of my transition, and like people who listened, people who didn't. And the idea of using the mandolins as a sort of reference to Proust and as a kind of time travel or memory aid was in there from the start. But then I thought to myself, oh god, this genre of the confessional trans memoir is so overdone, and it's so cliche, and it's pretty much one of the only things that we're allowed to write when we make art, is like the memoir of my transition or whatever. And it just becomes, I felt bored by that format. I've read so many things that have that format. It's like, this is my memories of transition, right? And I was like, I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I realized that I needed to have some kind of personal connection in there to bring these memories to life. Another thing that weighed on my mind a lot as I was developing the format was, I was sent a study a while ago by a friend of mine who said, I don't know how true this is, but the study says that one of the best ways to convince queerphobic people is to tell them stories about queer people being in happy families. Not necessarily normative families, but happy ones. Because apparently a lot of people who are queerphobic have this idea that like to be queer is in some sense to disrupt or threaten a family. And so that's why there's so many mentions in there of like my mum and dad, like my brothers, my aunties, and so on. Like, and also right at the start, there's a story of like, here's a story of like my dad being cool and supportive, right? That's like in the first 5 minutes of the video, very, very deliberately, because like that's an important piece. Thank you so much for that super chat from I really didn't want to, and then YouTube has cut the rest of your screen name off. But it's your first super chat too. Thank you. And thank you to Chris Omaregi too. And Alt Post Neo Experimenta. Your name has also been cut off. Maybe I can just make this window a little wider. Maybe that'll do it. No, it won't. But it's your first super chat too, so thanks so much. So yeah, that's why I designed the format of the video in the way that I did. Because I thought, well, what's a more interesting than just me like looking at the camera and saying like, when I was 14, this happened to me. I was like, okay, a more interesting way of doing it would be to frame those memories as future events, to go back and tell my past self, this is going to happen to you. And also then to get their reaction to it. And then that then developed into this idea of what if I go back in time and my past self, that character doesn't want to hear it and rejects it. And this video becomes about why don't people listen? And it also kind of on a personal level becomes about why didn't I listen to, why wouldn't I have listened if someone had said this to me? So you'll notice that in a lot of the scenes where my past self is arguing back, they are doing the very same things that we are talking about in the video. They're saying, oh, you could have tortured me in the future, which is this like wild out-of-pocket conspiracy claim with no evidence, right? Because they are caught in a phantasm about it. And it's showing a little bit of vulnerability and a way of showing like, hey, you can overcome this with a little courage and a willingness to change. Thank you so much to Chris Zek. Hey, your first super chat as well. And to just colon smiley face, colon D. Says shout out to the femboys. Indeed, as always. Shout out to the femboys. So that was why the video took the format that it did. It came out of this idea of being like, well, I wanted to interview Butler. That didn't happen. So like, what could I do to bring it to life? As for the aesthetic of it, so you'll remember that that a lot of it is quite plain. A lot of it is on this white background, as you can see here. And again, that was for the reasons that I said in the video. I wanted it to be, I wanted it to appear like I wasn't trying to hide anything. Because something I worried about was that when people hear about these topics, I think what they worry is that they're only hearing about the tip of the iceberg. And then there's all this other stuff they're going to be asked to take on as well. And so I went for a plain and just like dressed myself like Brian didn't style this look. This was me. These are just my real clothes. I'm wearing that same necklace right now, actually. Those are some of my favorite jeans and my favorite top. And I was just like, this is just me like being plain as I can. I'm not trying to hide anything. There's nothing up my sleeves. We're just going to talk through these ideas and you're not committed to anything. And that's why I did it in the kind of neutral white void space for most of it. And then I brought in the Phantom of the Phantasm when the video had sort of reached a point where it was like, okay, we need a change now of pace. I switched it up and I went to the Phantom. But even that's not a new look. That's the same look that we did in the previous video, right? So there weren't any brand new Philosophy Tube looks for this video. That was partly why I did it, and partly I was like, well, you know, I don't want people to think that I need to do a big fancy look every time. That's just, I do that to help. I'm not reliant on that. Like, I can make a video without that stuff. Thank you so much to Sarah S. and Lady Frankenstein 83. Hi, Lady Frankenstein. And Ashla Anver for your super chats. Ashla Anver is also your super chat, your first time too. Hey, that's amazing. Welcome. So many new people on this one. Oh, also speaking of looks that I designed. So let me see if I can. Oh, I can show you a better picture of it actually. Give me one sec. So this look, I designed that. So Brian Conway is the usual stylist for Philosophy Tube. But I designed this look, and these are just like my clothes. I styled this look. That Baphomet shirt is again same necklace. The Baphomet shirt was originally a t-shirt that I cropped and turned into a muscle tee with a sports bra underneath. And I deliberately designed this look to be like the future version of me that my past self would be most afraid of. It's like, this is not the good girl who like plays by the rules who you bring home to mum and dad. Like, she's deliberately meant to be provocatively queer, I guess. Like the way that she sits, you'll notice actually, and some people in the comments did notice, the way that she drinks a beer and like eats freely, whereas my past self is like drinking sparkling water and is like very, very uptight in their body language and like doesn't eat anything. And the way that like the future version of me is like girl broing out and like very animated and so on, and like past self is very like reserved. I designed this look and I designed the body language of these two characters to reflect this idea of like, this is the change that you're afraid to make, but it is also a kind of comfort. And in this look is freedom and comfort, but also in a way, confrontation. And actually, so you'll notice that in the scene, future Abby's arc through the narrative is like, starts off being very dismissive, being like, oh yeah, you're gone by this point and it's just me, or like you'll love it, not listening to the past self at all. And the journey that she goes on, future Abby goes on, is this journey of saying, okay, maybe I need to listen to this a little bit more. Maybe it's not all great. Like maybe we do need to get into the difficulty of it a little bit. Thank you so much to Twilord for your super chat. And to Dern Sid. Good question. How to refer to the character of past self? I'm going to go with past Abby. And also when I reveal how we shot it later on, there'll be another name too. Brett Lemoyne. Oh, thank you so much for that super chat. That's really cool. And your first time. Oh, don't worry. I'm not planning on stopping Philosophy Tube. No, don't worry. It'll keep going alongside. Again, and like you'll notice that the Baphomet symbol is like a Satanist symbol. This is very deliberately a kind of like provocative thing that I'm doing. Yeah, Eliza Wheeler, you're absolutely right. Thank you for your super chat. Also, like the way that she sits, bisexual style, that she has like Vans, which is like lesbian coded, even down to things like the way that her hair is like slicked on one side. The makeup look that we designed. So I worked with a different makeup artist this time, Jenny Morell, because Nikki Buglowitz, who's our usual makeup artist, was away on another job. So Jenny and I developed this look that we called lesbian fuckboy. So I just basically sent her a whole bunch of pictures of Kristen Stewart and was like that, and we did, and this is the look that resulted. So, Austin SG, thank you so much for super chat, and it's your 5th super chat apparently. Wow, amazing! I didn't know YouTube gave me this kind of information, so I'm just seeing a little number underneath it. Hey ho. Ivy asks, do you feel weird about dressing mask for a character? Not really. I mean, this isn't really mask. Like, she's wearing a sports bra and a muscle tank. That's not mask per se. That's like queer, in particular, like lesbian coded and also if you look very, very closely, you'll notice she has a lesbian manicure. So yeah, that's what I'm going for really. It's not like mask per se. Her body language is what you might call a little bit more mask. Kind of a bit more, well, what you might call girl bro. I've seen some people use that phrase. But she's very deliberately not like femme and delicate. Even down to things like, you know, getting my arms out and like showing the muscles off a little bit. Even the way that like you'll notice, I think, if I can find a good spot for it, the way that she like sits with one, she like takes up a lot of space, and like also you can see that bit, the way that I'm sitting is deliberately designed to accentuate my arm muscles. Thank you, Stephen No, for that super chat. And your first time too. Darren McAuliffe says, was past you how they would have reacted, or is it a dramatized version? This is definitely dramatized. Like, this is not... Some of the stuff in there is like, you know, real feelings or worries that I had or have had. But some of it is just for the drama, so I wouldn't read too much into it. I can't read your screen name because it's in Cyrillic, but somebody in the chat asked, is butch offensive? I don't think so in the context of dress codes. No, I mean, for me personally, like, she is dressed like a bit more butch, I guess. Yeah. A lot of people wanted to know where I got the earrings, the lightning bolt earrings. Literally just got them at a street side vendor in Bristol. I went to Bristol to hang out with Piebby from Twitter and her wife, and I just found them in a street side vendor, and I was like, oh, that was great. I'm gonna wear those. So, yeah. So yeah, that's why I designed the look in the way that I did. Oh, and by the way, that is the same theater where we shot Identity, which was my coming out video. So that door that you see framed behind me here is the same door that I emerged from for the first time in my coming out video, which is like very, very deliberate. Themes! It's all very tightly written, very tightly themed. It's all been like very, you know, thought through. So yeah. So that's why I designed the videos look in the way that I did. I think also now I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I researched it, because I know that you all love it when I tell you about books and the books that I've been reading. So we've got 2 book sections in this live stream. First, I'll tell you about the books I read for this video. Later on, I'll tell you about the books that I'm reading now at the moment, right? So basically, I started off with Judith Butler's new book, Who's Afraid of Gender, which the publishers sent me an advanced copy of at the end of last year. And I thought, oh, that would be kind of cool. Maybe I'll, like, you know, dive into that. Thank you so much, Kai WASMR. Thank you. And your first super chat, too. So yeah, I dived into it, and I was pretty gripped. I was like, oh, wow, this could be a really cool basis for a video. It did actually become the basis of my video, some of my video on urban design. It like surprisingly made its way in, which we talked about on the last stream. And then I got this idea that I kind of just wanted to read as much Butler as I could, because I hadn't read much of their work before, but I knew that it was in some circles controversial, and perhaps, you know, I'd learned about the degree of the backlash from the new book too. So Oh, thank you so much, Hannah M. That's really kind of you. It's a nice super chat. So I knew that at some point I would have to tackle Gender Trouble. I'll put it on this side. Gender Trouble, which is arguably their most famous book. But I also knew that it was going to be tough. So I had this idea that first I would read the philosophical papers and articles that they wrote before that, which is why I read Gender Insubordination. In the video I said subordination. That was an error. It's Gender Insubordination is the title of the paper. And there's another paper that they wrote as well in 1989, Performative Acts and Gender Constitution. I decided to read those first as a kind of like intro to Butler's thought to set the groundwork for the reading Gender Trouble, and that turned out to be a good move because it really helped me understand a lot of what is in Gender Trouble. Legion, I didn't put forward that role. I told you about that in the video. Important distinction. Yeah, important distinction there. And thank you, Atok, for your super chat too. That's really kind. Your fifth one. I think Legion, I disagree with some of the terms of the question there, but good try. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Gender Trouble. Gender Trouble is a pretty difficult read. And in fact, like Butler has a reputation for being pretty difficult. In fact, there was one commenter who, oh yeah, here we go, Aponte Eduardo, who talked about that and said, like, you know, Butler can be really tough. Butler's also been accused of being like willfully difficult in the past as well. And I don't know if I really agree with that. Like, Gender Trouble is a tough read. A lot of that is because it references other philosophers and other thinkers. In particular, it references psychoanalysis a lot, which is a discipline that I'm not particularly well versed in. So the sections of the book where Butler talks about psychoanalysis were quite tough. But in general, I found it to be like, you know, pretty fine. I got a lot out of it. It was pretty good, and like, I didn't think it was as super tough as a lot of people say. Quick break from book section to catch up on super chats. Thank you, Darren Lemon says, can't wait to see you in the Acolyte, and to Naomi. That's really cool. And Kaylin Ann says, do you have all your video reference book listed somewhere? Yeah, they're always in the description. And it's your 10th super chat. Yeah, all the books that I cite are always in the description. So yeah, then I moved on to some of Butler's more recent work. So I checked out Precarious Life, on this side, Precarious Life, which takes a more explicitly political turn, in particular when they write about 9/11. And I found that to be really fascinating, and definitely provided good material for the turning point in the video. I like my videos to have like a turn where it's like, and now we're talking about this. Like, now we talk about the dark side of it. So yeah, that I really enjoyed that. I also read a little bit of Excitable Speech, which I got a digital copy of, so I can't show that to you. And a couple of other books too. I read not Frames of War. I read that more recently, but they had another book that I also read too digitally. So yeah. Ember says, are you planning on YouTube memberships? I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. I think people have enough opportunities to give me money, like super chats and super thanks and Patreon and Nebula and stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't have YouTube membership. Like, maybe. Robert W says, what would you recommend as the best starting point for someone getting into Butler? Read, I would say, some of the things that they wrote for newspapers. Not interviews with them, which I have noticed, having read some of the interviews about their new book. Some of the interviewers that interview them tend to distort and misrepresent their views. But I would say if you can read some of the things that they have written for newspaper audiences, those can often be quite clear. And also, I would recommend Who's Afraid of Gender. It's a good intro stuff. It's written for a general audience. Whereas, things like Gender Trouble are tough because they're written for academic audiences. Not everything is written for a general audience. Some people say oh, if you can't explain it to a general audience, you shouldn't write it down. It's like, No, actually, some books are written for people who've been studying this stuff for decades, and that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, I would say check out some of the stuff that they've written for more public stuff, and then work your way up. Chaya Iran says, I appreciated the bit about how transphobia and anti-Semitism fill the same role. As a trans Jew, it really resonated with my experience. Yeah! So that came from this, Anti-Gender Politics in the Populist Moment, by these two Polish scholars whose names I tried very hard to pronounce correctly, and some Polish people in my comments said I probably didn't. So Butler cites this in this. So what I like to do when I read a book is then I flip to the back and I look at the other works that the author has cited, and then I go, okay, what looks cool? What can I dive into here? And that's how I found this one. This I found to be really, really valuable. Actually, this is one of the best books I've read recently. It's very, very thorough. It's very specific to Poland. And the politics of Poland, which I found interesting at times, and at times it was more detailed than I needed to know for the video, but still very interesting. And some of the like really, really nice details in here, in particular about like the history of Catholic Church's involvement in the anti-gender movement, and that was really, really cool. That's what led me to discovering all those articles I read and cited in the show about Piotr Skaga, which, by the way, if you haven't read those 3 articles that I cited, whoo, those are good. Those are really, really good. Highly recommend checking it out. Lily Gibbs says, dropping a message to say you're my absolute hero. Oh, thank you so much, Lily. And you're from Newcastle. Yes. And it's your first super chat. Double yes. Leigh Jones says, what do you think about if a trans woman enters a women's only weightlifting event and breaks records and earns the gold medal? You act like there aren't any trans weightlifters, actually. There actually have been trans powerlifters. One went to the Olympics recently and she came dead last. So well, let's not waste time talking about hypotheticals. I think definitely when it comes to sport, let's look at the actual evidence, which is that trans people are overwhelmingly not dominating it. Kim Dracula says thanks very much, and like that my videos helped them understand stuff on a deeper level, which is awesome. And it's your first super chat too, and it's 2 haikus, yay! And Luna Sophia asks, does Judith Butler cover how non-binary folks fit into the performative nature of gender? To my memory, not directly, but like it'll come up. Like just trust. Like yeah, check it out. Stephen No says, why do you think liberals are becoming reactionary? Probably a Nobel Prize in politics for you if you can figure that one out. Probably different for different ones. Like, that's kind of what I talk about in the video, right? So that was that's pretty much like how I did the research for the video. Again, like really recommend this if you can get your hands on it. It was a real eye opener. Like technical, difficult, often quite detailed, but yeah, I found that to be really useful detail, actually. We'll talk more about books a little bit later on. Sama Abdilal says, why did you change the thumbnail twice? I didn't. YouTube did. YouTube offers a new service, not really service now. Excuse me. YouTube offers a new feature now where you can A/B test thumbnails. You can upload 2 and it'll test which one works most effectively and then use that one. So probably what you saw was the test going on. Thank you so much, says Arif Hassan, and it's your first super chat. And thank you to Terrell Taylor for equals too. And to As Jasper, thank you so much. What's your view on working with translators to subtitle your videos? I already do. Videos are subtitled in German and Brazilian Portuguese, which are my 2 biggest foreign language audiences. It would be prohibitively expensive to get any others done, I'm afraid. And also, I'm really upset that YouTube got rid of community subtitles because that was a really useful feature, but there you go. Hey, Mia Mulder in chat! Hi, Mia. Mia is my twin sister from Sweden. I was going to say from an alternate dimension, but from Sweden. Actual Nordic model, Mia Mulder in chat. Hello. And thank you to Vincenzo for that super chat. Your first super chat ever. So many people's first super chat on this stream. Hey ho. That's awesome. Hey, nice to have you here. Lei Jun asks, what do you think of transgender swimmer Leah Thomas, who is in a legal battle after she won against the traditionally woman-only sports elite swim races? So you've actually got your facts wrong there. Leah Thomas won like a lower level race, and then by like 0.2 of a second. It wasn't like absolutely smashing it. She won by like a statistically normal amount, and then later went on to lose and become the center of a right-wing phantasm media storm. So I would check your facts there. And like, good for her for winning that race. Trans people should be allowed to compete and also win. That's something that like I've discovered in many fields, not just sports, but also like arts and entertainment too, is that sometimes people like it when we're there, but they don't like it when we win. If we win, we must somehow have cheated. And it's like, no, actually, you know, if you look at the statistical distribution of times, Leah Thomas's victories weren't any like, it's not like she was winning by like 5 minutes because she's so absolutely dominating. Like, she won by a normal amount that you might expect somebody winning a race to win by, and then went on to lose to a cis woman later on. So there you go. That's what I mean by like looking at stuff, looking at the actual facts. Mia Mulder has a great video on trans sports if you're interested. Yeah. Okay, we've already covered the errors. Oh yeah, one other error I made in the video is that I said de Beauvoir's book opens with the sentence "one is not born but rather becomes a woman." It doesn't open with that sentence. Sorry, I misspoke. It just features that sentence. So Leo Bello says, I saw this live stream recommended and thought Judith Butler died. Oh my gosh. Yeah, maybe I should call it something else, not post-mortem live stream, but like post-show analysis. But that's so like thank you, Mephistopheles, for that super chat. Yeah. Alexi says, I wonder what the other thumbnail was. Yeah, it was me as the phantasm holding the book instead of me as myself holding the book. It was like just a different color scheme, really. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, the physics guy who says you're so quick on your feet. Well, I guess, you know, live theater and improv experience, baby. Maybe let's not jinx it, right? It's still plenty of time to mess it up. Cheya Iran says, reminds me of anti-Semitism. If we're here, it's fine, but if we succeed, it's because we cheated. Yep. Yeah, maybe I should call it post-show analysis, but hey ho. Thanks, Lady Frankenstein. Bye-bye. After show. Oh, that's really good, says Jan Malantu. Call it the after show stream. Yeah. That's good. I don't know. Anyway, having explained a little bit about like how the video was made, Blick Bonin, like probably not my field, but thanks for your first super chat. Having explained a little bit about how the video was made, let's now talk about like what the feedback was. So starting with the numbers zone analysis, the cold hard facts. Thank you to the Star of the Void for your first super chat, and thank you to Jacob Maglis as well. Cold hard facts, numbers. The video, in terms of views, did like kind of average. It got about like I think it's got like 750,000 views so far, and we're like 10 day 2 weeks out, which is, you know, pretty middle of the road for an episode of Philosophy Tube. Doesn't set the world on fire. Thank you, Chris McDuffie, for that super chat. It doesn't set the world on fire, but I guess at the same time, like, it's a bit of an awkward length, an hour and 15 minutes. It's not like if it was 4 hours long, people go, right, okay, like, better strap in. And people go, wow, it's an event to watch a 4-hour video. Like when Jenny Nicholson releases a 4-hour video, it's like, wow, okay, cool. Congratulations, Marcy Hunt, and thank you for your super chat. But I find that like under like 55 minutes or like 45 minutes is a good sweet spot because it's less than an hour, right? But an hour and 15, people are like, it's over an hour long. Like, I think that contributes to the speed at which new views come in. Kind of unavoidable this time because there was a lot to say, and also the dramatic scenes like lengthened it a lot, but maybe a bit of an awkward length. Also, I guess it's maybe kind of a niche topic. I think yeah. Also, I think that some of the videos we've done recently, like the urban design one, was a statistically anomalous banger. Like, that really popped off. Like, the urban design one was like the biggest opener we've ever had. It got like 1 million in less than a week. And so I think that might be like, because what you do when you upload a video, YouTube tells you how well it's performed relative to your previous 10. It gives you a ranking. And this one came in bang on number 5. And I think because the urban design one was so hot, it's like adjusted up a little bit. So, pretty middle of the road in terms of numbers, like, For all the effort and the expense that went into it, like, this was the most expensive video I've ever shot because we shot it over 3 days. I was hoping it would pop off a bit more, but like, it fulfills my 3 criteria, so I'm happy. Thank you so much for your super chats, Karina Freeman, and also Bees. That's a fun screen name, Bees. Your first super chat. Buzz. Thank you, John, for that super chat too. Hey ho. Yeah. So yeah, in terms of numbers, it was a little tame, but that's all right. And now we do a section of the post-show analysis that I like to call Transphobia Watch. That's the BBC News theme. Transphobia Watch. Good evening. Welcome to Transphobia Watch. Tonight, lots. Good night. So yeah, there was a lot of transphobia in my comment section this time. A lot. Which has been offset once again by Diana America Rivero coming in with the quintuple investment super chat. Diana. Investment. Every time, every stream, Diana never misses a stream. Like, thank you, Diana. The sirens are going past. They're coming for you. Thanks, Diana. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hey, I tell you what, it's nice to be back on the stream. You always put me in a reflective mood, Diana. It's nice to be back on the stream. I tell you what, I've had a rough couple weeks. Rough couple months, actually. You know, had some personal stuff go wrong, and I got sick, and then I kind of had some career stuff that had a bit of a wobble, which, you know, on the mend now, but then had some like really stressful stuff that happened, so it's nice to be back on the stream. Like, I'm not saying, you know, money makes it all better, because like 30% of that goes to YouTube anyway, you know, and the rest of the super chats, by the way, go to paying the editors, so the editors of the highlight reels. So, yeah, but it's nice to be back on the stream. I appreciate it. Yeah. Legion, I would resist the idea that testosterone is some kind of magic chemical. So yeah. Yeah, it's nice to be back on the stream. Because it feels like it feels like something I can definitely do. Like, I don't know, I had a lot of stuff go wrong recently, and I feel like, oh man, I can't do it. And then now, it's nice. It always feels like a win. You guys always make it feel like a win. Armin Gook says you don't edit the highlights. No, so I said on the last stream that the highlight reels for these streams get edited by an external team that's paid for by the super chats, just to kind of save me a bit of time. So, hey Judy, thanks so much for the super chat. Found you through F a year ago. Cool. That F. What a person. Yeah. Give me 1 second, chat. Let me just do a little bit of a pruning here. That's permanent ban from my channel. You can't talk to me that way, I'm afraid. Goodbye. Most people don't send messages like that. You can't come into my house and say that, I'm afraid. So yeah, hey, speaking of transphobia, there was a lot of, thanks Chris McDuffie, thank you. There was a lot of transphobia in the comments section this time. It took a lot of interesting forms. There were some people who basically just went, nuh-uh, and like didn't really engage with what Butler said. They just kind of like restated the anti-Butler position. There were a lot of people who just like restated the sex-gender distinction, which is what Butler's arguing against, and basically just went no and just like said it again but more aggressive. And it's like, in a philosophy class, that wouldn't, I mean, you'd fail for that because you haven't engaged with the text, right? You've not engaged with your arguments. So it's like, hey Fee, thanks, appreciate that. So there were a lot of people like that. Upsettingly, there were some people who left like interesting comments, who like left multiple comments, and the first couple would be interesting and would be engaging with it, and then they would kind of like rile themselves up. They would get mad. They would leave like 5 or 6 more comments that would culminate in, really explicit transphobia. And I'd go, well, you're banned. Like, mute user, you could never comment on the channel again and all your comments disappear. And I was like, that's so disappointing because they started out from a place of like engaging in good faith, but then they like dropped some transphobia. And you know me, I have a 0 tolerance policy for that. Like, not even once, not even by accident. I take it like absolutely seriously on my show. It's like, you cannot come into my comment section and be even slightly transphobic even one time. You will just be muted and then you'll be gone forever and we'll never hear from you again. So it's like, sorry. And I felt, I was like, I was disappointed because I was like, oh, these people like, they had like phantasm brain, right? So yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, there was a lot of transphobia this time, probably like predictably given the subject matter. But yeah, people were in my comment section like shadowboxing and getting mad and just like denying, not really engaging with the text at all. So yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. But hey ho. So, oh yeah, now we can talk a little bit about the comments section, and we can finally explain how we did that shot with the time travel. Adam C says, now that you've been in Star Wars, would you consider doing more big sci-fi? Hey, it's your first super chat, so first of all, thanks very much. Secondly, I'm imagining that you're Adam Conover, so hi Adam. And thirdly, I'm gonna say this, like, if somebody offers me an acting role, I'm probably gonna take it. I am not, people aren't like sending me acting roles and I'm like sifting through a big pile of them. 3/4 of the acting industry on both sides of the Atlantic is out of work. And that's not just actors, that's like producers, like caterers, drivers, post-production people. Like literally 3/4 of the industry is unemployed right now. That's like back to the Creative Freelancers Union in the UK is like 76% are out of work. Thanks Sambi for that super chat. So if somebody offers me an acting role, I'm probably gonna take that role. I gotta be honest. Like, unless it's offensive, or I'm just like, this isn't gonna help me at all, or if it's like less than minimum wage, I'm probably gonna take that role. Thanks to Liza Wheeler for that super chat. I am not in a position to be turning stuff down, and most actors are not. So hey, if the people from Star Trek came to me and said you want to be in Star Trek, I'd be like, yeah, sure. I love acting. I really want to act. That's what I want to do. I want to do it the rest of my life. 5KY Pup says, when you said, are you going to be in something bigger than Star Wars? We're racking our brains to figure out what it is. You'll find out next week. I spoke to the head of marketing at last week, and he told me finally we are going to be able to announce it next week, probably Tuesday or maybe Wednesday, depending on time zones, because it all gets done on American time. But yeah, the big super redacted project will be announced next week. The thing that I did that's bigger than Star Wars. I'm very, very excited. So. Yeah, fun times. Oh, Diana says I'd love for Abby to be on Lower Decks. Yeah, I would have liked that too. Shame that Lower Decks is ending. So I actually know one of the directors on that, Megan, who's lovely, Megan Lloyd. Yeah, sadly it's ending. Yeah, Abby in Fortnite says Poke. That'd be funny. Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame that Lower Decks ended. Hey ho. Oh, Major Larger says, what is it about acting that pulls you in that makes you want to do it? Oh, what a good question. So I've been acting since I was literally as long as I can remember. And when I act, I can use all of me. Like, it's not just my brain or my voice. It's like brain, heart, body, imagination, like research, spirit, like whatever that is. Like interacting with another human being, so it's like interpersonal skills. It's a kind of, it's a total activity. And I also really enjoy the fact that like going on a set and like having to relate to another person, that you do all the work you can do on your own, and then you have to like look another person in the eye and feel something with them. It's just a beautiful thing. There's just nothing like it. I just love acting. It's just the discipline of it and the craft of it, and to do it really well, the way that it challenges me and pushes me to be more than I can be, not just as an artist, but as a human being. Like sometimes I'll come away from jobs and I'll be like, the work I did was good, but as a person, I have not developed the qualities yet to be in that environment. It was actually one of the things I like really enjoyed about working on Star Wars, was like it really pushed me to get better in all respects. So yeah, that was amazing. Thank you to Queen Stodge for that super chat. Would you want Reese to play me in Again? I think he might be a bit too old. If oh, you mean in When I Tell You? Yeah. Thank you so much. Lots of super chats flying past. Maybe a bit too fast. I Charlie Octogirl, I haven't seen it, I'm afraid. Alex Coates, thanks for that super chat. Do you have a favorite part of the process for creating philosophy tube videos? I like being on set on the day, just because the crew is always just really nice, and we always have like a nice chill environment usually. So that's just really nice, and then it feels like it's real, you know. Sometimes when I start getting in my own head and doubting it, then when I start meeting with Brian, the stylist, and it's like, okay, I feel like it's real now. It's really gonna happen now. So yeah. Diana America Rivera says, Carrie Ann Moss wielding a lightsaber blew my mind. Oh yeah, you wait till you see the series. I have seen I've seen the first 2 episodes at the premiere, and like, whew, it's good. It's real good. Also, Carrie Ann's lovely. Thank you, Sparky the Sharky. Yeah, it's yeah. It's fun. Simone says, how big is the crew on Philosophy Tube? Typically it'll be me, Nikki the makeup artist, Brian the stylist, and then Mr. X, the camera operator who prefers to remain anonymous. Sometimes Mr. X brings Mr. Y or Mrs. Z, who will assist. And sometimes more people as we need them. This time we had someone else too. Tara F, I don't know what that is, but thanks for your super chat. I tell you what though, let's talk about how we actually did the time travel scene. How did we do this? Was it CGI? Was it AI? Was it did I record it years ago and then just edit it all together? No, in fact, it is a much more low-tech answer. It's just a guy. This person that you're looking at here is not me. This is a separate human being, a professional actor named Reese Tees. He's been a friend of mine for years. He also played me in Identity, which some people at the back at the time didn't realize. So this is Reese. That's how we filmed it. It's just a guy. Thank you so much to Karina Freeman and Eliza Weiler and Yvette Vandermolen for your super chats. Eliza, yeah, I hope so. So yeah, the low-tech answer is it's just a dude. He's just a real human being. Here's us physically hugging each other, so you know he's not a hologram. Also, we're playing the same person, and there's a line in the script about us being the same height. In real life, we are not the same height. I am taller than Reese by like half a foot. So in the shots where we stand up and hug, Reese is standing on a box. So yeah, that's how we did it. Reese is a professional actor. Like, we've been friends for years and years and years. And I had him back. He played me on Identity, and Alcy says, did people think it was the real past you? Yeah. Some people thought that when we filmed Identity too. They thought Reese was me. The trick is in the eyes. We have different colored eyes. Even though I said in the script we have the same eyes, we actually don't. We also have different accents too, but maybe you have to be from the UK to pick up on that. But yeah, Reese is Reese is my friend, and Reese played me. He's a professional actor. He was paid, obviously, a professional rate, to come in and do the job. And yeah. Bernice Roust was a background essay on Star Wars. Nice. He did a great job, as always. Reese is a fantastic actor. You can actually see Reese on tour currently, if you're in the UK. He's in a play called The Importance of Being Earnest? ? Which is a comedy. It's absolutely hilarious. Reese plays one of the leads. Go see it if you can. It's brilliant. Thank you so much to Krat and Ahava for your super chats. Oh, yay, and your first time too. So yeah, that's how we did it. It's just Reese. So actually, I did a little bit of a sneaky. I did deliberately try and mislead you here. Lies, scheming, deception. Let me try and find the right window. So this shot, which is the wide shot that we used, is deliberately framed to make you think that we are doing a split screen. So like the symmetrical framing with like this is the shot that YouTubers do when they use a split screen effect. So we deliberately, and I like specifically requested Mr. X and the camera crew set this up. Oh, this time we also had a lovely sound engineer when we filmed this particular scene. So this scene, we deliberately framed this shot to make you think that we're the same person. And then at the end, the idea is that we hug. Thoughtful Electronic Music by Nina Richards. And that's the moment you're supposed to go, what? How did they film that? Was it just CGI? Like, wait, how did you touch each other when it's like it's a split screen? How did you do that, right? So we lied! We tricked you! Ha 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 ha! We got you! Alea, wow. Thank you for that super chat. Like, wow. Triple investment. Take back 1 penny. Wow, thank you. That's really, really, really kind of you. You guys are so generous. Thanks. Liz is weird said it worked on me. I gotcha. Sneaky YouTubing. Refit Man says there's a lovely surprise seeing Reese. Yeah. And he's wearing the old cosmonaut shirt. So nice little throwback. Did you direct Reese's body language as past you? Yes, Katie Northacker, I did. All part of the direction. Diana America Rivera says, who made the mandolins and was that supposed to be a Proustian reference? They were made by Sainsbury's, and yes, I bought them from Sainsbury's. Yeah. Not special effects. Somebody in chat says, yes. Sneaky. Practical effects, practical sets. That's what we learned. That's how we do it on Star Wars, baby. It's all practical sets, no CGI. Yeah. And we just try to mislead you. Everyone's like, oh, you fooled us. Yeah, I really enjoyed filming that scenes. We had a really good day. It was pretty chill. We had a really nice time on set. Oh, thank you, Hannah M. That's really nice. And Mephistopheles again. So yeah, we had a really fun day on set. Actually, we finished pretty early. It was very relaxed type of filming stuff. Thank you, Philip Ray, for your super chat too. And thank you to Sarah A as well for your 3rd super chat. The chat is like really zooming past at the moment. So yeah, it's oh, and thank you to Elrose too. Thank you. Yeah, it was a really nice day on set. Reese did an amazing job. Like everyone did, actually. Yeah, and it came together so well. Oh, by the way, if you want to see the full scene without the video essay bits in between, it's on Nebula. It's a little bonus video on my Nebula channel, just for you Nebula heads. So we had some other comments about this one. Let me dig those up here. Evil Goose. We just got a guy. It's just a dude. It's just a dude in a chair. Low tech. What was the beer you were drinking in those shots? Asked Queen Stodge. It's just a non-alcoholic beer. I didn't want to get too buzzed on set. It's not a Brandon Rogers video. I'll just be taking substances on camera. Brandon Rogers fans now. Yeah. Millie the Silly says, does the Nebula video have any extra bits that didn't make it into the essay? No, I mean, it's got the blooper reel. And it's Nebula has the blooper reel and the full scene with Reese. So, yeah. So Miranda here in the comments here says they thought that Reese was me in Identity, my coming out video. So yeah, that was very, very funny. I said to Reese before we shot this one, I was just like, people are gonna think that you're me again. Also, apparently he got recognized in public a while ago by somebody who was just like, how are you here? And he was like, my name is Reese. I'm just an actor. I'm a friend of Abby's. I was in her video. I'm not her. And he was like, what? That's really fun. Yeah. So it's fun. Reese is a superb actor. Like, if you do get the chance to see him and the importance of being earnest, go see it. And I think, fingers crossed, you'll have a chance to see it maybe someday on the West End. So it's on tour at the moment, and I had a hand in producing. I gave them some money in producing it. And Simon, who's the producer, writer, and director of Ernest, was the producer on The Prince, which is my play. So. Oh yeah, so Mr. J. Gorms noticed the trick that we pulled with the body language. So future Abby's very girl bro and all over the place, and like drinking and eating, whereas past Abby's very reserved. Reese's body language was very uptight. So yeah, again, deliberate acting, theater, themes, writing. Oh yeah, so La Wigan says, I waved at the screen when Reese broke the fourth wall. So this moment at the end, when Reese looks at the audience and says hello. I wanted to give. Oh, my stapler just made a noise and scared me. This moment at the end where Reese looks at the camera and says hello to the audience. I wanted to give that moment to him. I wanted to have him break the fourth wall, not me. I wanted that to be like a little shout out to the people who've been watching the show since season 2, or even season 1. It's just like a hey, he's still there in all the old videos if you want him, Monty Gator, I don't know, it seems like more of a Casey explosion thing. Yeah. I did get some lovely comments from people, like this one from Benjamin77 Bunny, who said that they've been broken out of phantasms by my videos, and that's really, really lovely. I love those kinds of comments. It always makes me really happy that people have been helped by my work. Thanks so much, Mark Bessie, for your super chat. Your first super chat ever. Yay. Diana, yeah, that was one of my favorite lines too. I was happy with that. Thank you, Erin Ledery, for your super chat too. Your first ever one. Yay. Best Let's Player. We actually talked about that at the top of the stream. That very question. Oh yeah, this was a great comment from Quasimudu8452, who said all the stuff about objectification that we talked about in the context of queer people also applies to Indigenous Americans and disabled people too. Yes, absolutely. I'm really glad you made that connection. That theory of objectification that we explained, of course, has wider applications beyond just the people we talked about in the video. And I'm like, A+, A star, top marks. You're engaging with the text and applying it to other things too. That's like original material and engagement with the text. Like, top marks. Well done. Love this comment. Really useful. Spazio Sporto Studio is from Italy. And you may remember that in the video I said that in Italy, they say that gender ideology comes from African migrants. And Spazio Sporto Studio says, no, they don't. They don't say that in Italy, and they're from Italy. So the reason I said that is because it's said in this, in Anti-Gender Politics. Wrong one. In this, Anti-Gender Politics in the Populist Moment, a book that I cited and talked about earlier on. The authors of this quote a speech that I believe is from the Italian Prime Minister, where she does say that gender ideology comes from like African migrants. I might be misremembering, but that's why that claim was in there. So if you didn't want to double check that citation, that's where it is. Pretty sure I'm remembering that right. But of course, if you are native Italiano, then I defer to you on that a little bit. Just gonna take a little drink of water here. MK says they're a teacher from Switzerland and said this episode is spot on. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, I was proud of this one. I challenged myself intellectually and artistically, and it turned out well. And then it was this Oop, I clicked the wrong button there for a second, I'm worried. This commenter, Experiment 4, said I should have interviewed Judith Butler. Yeah, like I said earlier on in the stream, I wanted to, but it didn't happen in the end. Jamie, it's your first super chat, says the explanation of objectification helped me figure out how I'm perceived as a queer person and a mentally ill person. Yeah, thanks for that. 123 Dig Dog says, you ever thought about visiting Canada? I have visited Canada a couple times. It's been a while, but also I have friends in Canada. So, Hammock says, hello Abby and all the cuties in chat. Thank you. A&E says, really appreciated you using work by Polish writers. Oh, I'm really glad. Thank you. It's a great book. Like, yeah. Poland mentioned. And it's your first super chat too. Hey. Mark Agamotto 1330 Smith. Well, that's an interesting comment. Maybe let's talk about that for a moment. Says, seeing the transformation from your earlier videos to how you are now gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, I might be able to almost pass someday. I understand where you're coming from there. I don't know, maybe it's not my place to give advice and stuff. Something that helped me a lot to hear when I thought things like that was that I read something actually which said if you walk down the street and nobody throws anything at you, you pass. If you walk into a shop and people don't ask you to leave, you pass. And they didn't mean that in a literal sense. What the author meant was like it's about respect. It's about the way that you're treated, not necessarily what other people think, which we have very limited control over. And I realize that I say that with a great deal of privilege and luck. But I found that to be a very helpful perspective when I was younger. yeah, that it's not that you. I have met a lot of trans people who think that they can only find what they are looking for in that moment of encounter with a cis person. That they wait for a cis person to tell them what they are. And they wait to pass to feel good. And that's not personally how I approach it. And I have seen a lot of people beat themselves up using that theory, I guess. So I get where you're coming from, but I hope that you are happy and healthy. And yeah, may we all worry less about what other people think of us. I realize I say that with a great deal of, privilege and the benefit of time. But hey ho. Thank you, Spinoli, for that super chat. That's really kind of you. And to Ada Y, it's your first super chat. Happy Pride. And to Alana Z, your first super chat. Investment, $100. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. You guys are so generous. I don't know. I hope that's okay. This stuff I just said about passing. I try not to get involved in that whole discussions like it, because I think other people are better suited to it, and I think I do a better job of when I just keep my mouth shut. But I would say, like, don't. I would hope that nobody would use me, or the way that I look, or the way that I sound, or the stuff that I make, as a stick with which to beat themselves. I know it's not that easy, but yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Let's talk about some. Oh, first of all, let's look at the fan art, and then we'll talk about what I'm reading at the moment. Because again, I know you guys love books. And when I talk about the books, but it's like little bookworms. Thank you, MSC. I really appreciate that. And it's your first super chat. And Zcon, I'm really good with Zcon. Says their perspective on being a femboy is different after watching the most recent video. Hey ho. So this bit of fan art comes to us from Waluigi Fuck, one of our regular fan artists. Amazing job as always. I love it's almost like a playing card, that design. It's really fun. I like it. Thank you, Jimmy O'Sullivan, for your super chat, and to Zaneta, and to Snacks LaFleur. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks, Snacks LaFleur. I really appreciate that. And Zaneta asks, is there anything in Butler's work that I disagreed with? I kind of like built that into the structure of the video, so I talk a little bit about that in the video itself. Yeah, I really like the it's almost like a playing card, this design that you've made, Waluigi Fuck. It's really cool. Very like cool and stylized. I think I've seen that symbol somewhere before, but I can't remember where. This one is from Tomorrow is Today, over on Reddit. I like this one, kind of abstract. Kind of like, like difficult to see. The hair almost looks like tentacles. Like you've got a really interesting style, the way that you've got like the white lines around only some of it. It suggests almost like it's still being drawn, which I kind of like in this context. It's still being shaped. Like it invites me to keep looking at it because I feel like I haven't finished seeing it yet. This is a really interesting style you've got. Tomorrow is Today. I really like it, actually. Yeah, well done. I hope that you're watching the stream or watching the highlight reel or something, but this is really nice. Chat, isn't this like... Yeah. Because it seems sort of like rough, even the way the background is sort of scribbled, the way that it feels when I say unfinished, I don't mean like you need to go back and finish it. I mean that it suggests something to me that is in progress, transient, moving. And that's kind of beautiful in a way. It's not something that is immobilized and fixed. It's something that is still happening, you know? Isn't it cool? Thank you for this. Thanks, Snake. That's really fun. Yeah, really, really good. And then this last one also comes from Waluigi Fuck, which is me and Reese in the Madeline prism. This is really cool. Like the light coming off the prism around the edges of the pyramid is really, really powerful. That's very cool. Thanks, Twilord. Yeah, I like this one. It's really fun. Reese looks rugged in that. He looks cool. Looks hard. Yeah, the light coming off the pyramid in this one is really, really fun. Major Larger says, I think it's cool that you love acting and you create scenes and have other actors play with you in them. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a whole play and a whole movie, so yeah. In a week's time, I'm going to LA for 3 weeks to film a movie that I wrote, that other actors are going to be in. Morgana Ignis and Brandon Rogers are going to be in. It's called Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. I love doing that. I love writing stuff and acting with it, and acting in it with my friends. So, yeah. Oh yeah, this does kind of look like the Phantom Zone, Loz Pycock. You're right. Yeah. Huh. Ooh, yeah, Ryan. That's a good reading. The edge line that goes through Reese suggesting a sort of bisected or internal conflict. Ooh, yeah. Good reading. I like it. Very, very cool. I'll tell you what, Waluigi Fuck, you've got lots of different styles to you. Like, this is like a totally different drawing style than the first one. Like, and on previous ones you've submitted, you're so versatile. Like, yeah. Thanks, Faya. Hey, I really appreciate that. I hope the summer brings me better things too. I hope it will. Yeah, had a rough couple months. Hey, Izzy0052, that's awesome. And your first super chat too. Aria says, Abby, how come this stream isn't on the Philosophy Tube live channel? Oh, so did you miss the previous one we did? I've moved them over. I moved them over here so more people can see them. Well, because I did this thing a while ago where I asked my audience, like, hey, what do you want? Like, how can I do more? And a lot of people said, oh, I'd love it if you did X, Y, Z. And it's all stuff I was doing on the streams. So I realized that I had a discoverability problem, that I was already doing the things that people wanted me to do. Like talking about books was a big one, but people weren't seeing it. So I kind of just like parked the second channel and moved the post-mortem live streams over here so now more people can see them. And also there's going to be highlight reels from the streams on the main channel, which are paid for by an external editing team, which are edited by an external editing team paid for by these super chats. So that's cool. And also I'm doing more acting streams now. So you will see me do some acting streams relatively soon. Oh, also I should do a live stream next week because it's 11 years of Philosophy Tube. As of yesterday, Philosophy Tube is 11 years old. So I should do a live stream if I've got time during the week and talk a little bit about, you know, the last 11 years. So you might get two live streams in quick succession. And then when I come back to from filming in LA, if all of Star Wars is out, once the show is out, then I will do a kind of acting stream where I talk about, hey, like I was in this a while ago, I did an acting stream about Baldur's Gate 3. So I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, yes. Now the bit of the stream I know you all been waiting for. What have I been reading lately? Books! More books! So I have been on a queer fiction kick recently. just, for fun, because I've had a lot of plane journeys in the last few months, so I've been reading a lot of stuff on planes. As I mentioned in the video, I've been reading Alison Rumford's Brainworms, which is good, extremely disturbing and gross, so you'll need a strong stomach to read this one. So this was Alison's second novel. Once I was done with it, I read her first novel, Tell Me I'm Worthless, which is about a haunted house, and I won't spoil anything else, but again, similarly kind of gross and horrible, but well written. Alison came to my birthday party a while ago. She's lovely. She's really, really nice. Thank you, Chaya Iran, for that super chat. So yeah, I read both of Alison's most recent novels and enjoyed them both. Hardly Seller says, "Do I mind my videos being used in classrooms?" I don't mind it. Yeah, go ahead. I guess sometimes they're a little cheeky. I aim my videos in terms of like age at like, teens. Sort of 15 and up is usually where I aim it. If you want the uncensored versions, those can go on Nebula. But yeah. And then I read this, Wrath Goddess Sing by Maya Dean. So Maya became a friend of mine. She's a writer in New York. And I can't remember how. So I'd heard of this book. And then somebody explained to me what the deal with it is. I was like, okay, I have to read that. And I read it, and I was absolutely gripped. And I love it. I was like, wouldn't shut up about it for weeks after I finished it. How to even begin? So it's a retelling of the Iliad, where Achilles is a trans woman. And basically, it's a retelling of the Iliad that focuses on the women generally, including Helen, who is the villain of the Trojan War, and like a number of others too. And in this version, Achilles is a trans woman, and like the conceit is that like Achilles is actually the feminine of the name Achilleos, and like in the original Iliad, Achilles is on the island of Skyros, which we now think was like populated by trans women. So it's like, okay, like that's the conceit. So in this one, Odysseus turns up on the Isle of Skyros and says, where is Prince Achilles? We need him to go and fight the Trojan War. And Achilles, who is a trans woman, says, I'm absolutely not going with you. Like, the gods are not real. Athena did not send you to find me. All of it's bollocks. I'm never going back again. I'll stay here now. At which point Athena appears and says, hi, you are my daughter. You will fight the Trojan War. And by the way, boom, magically turns her into a cis woman, which is interesting because it's like, well, is that what she wanted? And like, how do the other trans women in Achilles' life feel about this? Interesting. And then it's off to fight the Trojan War, and then like it becomes a kind of like fantasy novel. If you've read the Aragon series, there's like a little bit of that DNA in here, not in terms of dragons, but in terms of like magic and gods and stuff. And it rules, and the ending is just like mind-blowing. The way that it like changes genres as it goes through the book is phenomenal. So I would not shut up about this for weeks after I finished reading it. Like I love it. I want it to be a movie. I want it to be a million movies. I want it to be 3 movies. I want it to be Lord of the Rings, Wrath Goddess Sing, directed by Peter Jackson and Zack Snyder. Like this is amazing. And I love it. I think it's great. Very, very fun. Just a really good adventure story, Blah, blah, blah says, thanks for name dropping Seattle Voice Labs. I'm on the waiting list. Hey, awesome. Yeah, very, very cool people over there. Thanks, Hammock. That's kind of you. Yeah. And then this is going to get me in trouble with a certain section of Twitter. Then I read this, Manhunt by Gretchen Felker-Martin. A book that drew some controversy when it came out. It's a story about a pandemic that turns anyone who has a certain amount of testosterone in their bodies into a zombie, like feral and like very graphic, not just eating people but other things too. So most cis men turn into like feral zombies. But that sounds like a very just at first blush, it sounds like a very sort of War of the Sexes type deal. But actually, the more you go through, the more clever it becomes, and the more I kind of like it. So we learn later on that, like, trans men, for instance, by and large, fine. Not happy because they can't take testosterone, but by and large, fine. Trans women who have had operations are fine. Trans women who haven't are fine as long as they take blockers. And cis women with PCOS are also a danger. And in fact, we learned, so also, like, the country is run by a TERF government called the matriarchy, who hunt trans women and hate them. But the matriarchy does allow some young boys to transition against their will only. So basically, the book takes seriously the radical feminist position that all sex/gender is founded in violence. That to have any kind of sex/gender at all is to have some kind of violence done to you, or to be doing some kind of violence to yourself. And the story follows these two trans women who survive by hunting men, basically. And like the various trials and tribulations they go through as they try to survive and resist this matriarchal government. There's also a cis character who's like in the TERF matriarchy but trying to defect and very, like, conflicted about it. It's really good. Like, it's pretty brutal in places, and it is also, I think, in some places it's kind of a trans power fantasy, almost like a trans revenge fantasy in places. It's definitely provocative, in a way that I really appreciated, and it's bold. There's some moments where I'm like, I would have been curious to hear more about, like, this, for instance. But I think that's probably what makes it, like, quite rich material for, if, for instance, it were being adapted to screen. That's probably what would, make it quite rich source material, is because there's a lot of places where you could go, ooh, like, I can imagine a producer or somebody going, ooh, yeah, I'd love to, like, do an episode about, like, in a series that, like, dives into this. So yeah, yeah. Very cool. Enjoyed reading it. It was recommended to me by some people who said, hey, Abby, you should pick this up. I gotta say, I love the characters in it. I think so Beth is the trans woman who's the main character. I think she might be one of my favorite trans characters in anything ever. She's this, like, well, I guess she's like a tall, buff trans woman who, like, shoots people with a bow and arrow. So, like, of course I love her. But yeah, very, very cool. Justin Parry says, not a fan of the demonization of testosterone. See, that's the thing, is that it seems at the start that that's what it's doing. But I think that the more you get through it, the more you realize that's actually it's actually cleverer than that. I think this is the sort of thing that, like, I can see people reading the first 2 or 3 chapters and then getting, like, really mad and popping off online. But actually, when you read it all the way through and think about it, I think it's like, actually, I think there's more to it than that. I think it's like, it comes at you very hard with this, like, all the men have become zombies. And I think it's tempting to just see it at that surface level, but I think it's actually, like, doing something a lot cleverer beneath the surface by taking this, like, radical feminist, theory seriously. That, like, well, what if all sex/gender really is violence? What if all or almost all heterosexual sex really is violent? What then? Like, what then emerges from that as a kind of ethical or human understanding? So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I liked it. I, like, read it in 2 chunks on 2 flights and I couldn't put it down because I was often so excited by it. It does get visceral in places, but I have to say, like, having read Brainworms, this is the only book I've ever read that had made me physically sweat. It's like, some of the stuff in here is, like, extremely gross. and disgusting. So I've heard people talk about Manhunt as if it's some kind of like, ooh, it's like so gory or violent or disturbing. And then actually having read Brainworms first, I was pretty inoculated. I was like, yeah, I mean, this is like an action thriller, but it's not like too bad. There's like people getting sliced up and their organs get cut out and eaten or whatever. But yeah, it's not that bad. Like, whereas Brainworms, I was like, and like having finished Brainworms, I was like, I don't think anything's really gonna shock me after I've read this. So yeah, it's yeah, check it out. It's cool. If you like that kind of thing, I think it's I can definitely see. I think it did draw a little bit of controversy when it came out. Was it last year or the year before? Because I think I can see how people might read the first half and be like, what? Like, but then actually, the more you get into it, the more clever it becomes, and the more you see the ways in which this new society makes exceptions to its own rules. I mean, I think the bit that fascinated me was when we learn, kind of mild spoilers, we learn later in the book that the matriarchy does allow there to be some trans women, but only if they don't transition voluntarily. So like they do in fact forcibly transition young boys with orchidectomies and with estrogen, but trans women who voluntarily transition, they're like, no, death. And there's no, you can't like get an orchie and somehow get out of that. There's like, no, just death straight away. So it's really interesting the way that it like takes seriously this idea that sex/gender is an inherently violent force, an inherently like traumatic force. So yeah, clever, very, very clever. I've spoken a little bit to Gretchen too since I read it, and like she's very cool. Anyway, I think we might be just about done with the stream. Oh yeah, couple other things. So now we can talk about like what's coming up next. The next episode of Philosophy Tube is gonna be about death. I think it's probably gonna be coming out maybe July, but realistically probably August, because I'm about to go away for most of June to film a movie in LA, and then when I get back we'll have to like organize dates with the crew. So July/August, expect a video about death. I'm trying to do something cool with the production side, which is taking some organizing and some money, but if I can pull it off, I think it'll be cool as hell. Oh yeah, Philosophy Tube is 11 years old as of yesterday, so I want to do a kind of celebration live stream, hopefully at some point this week coming up. And then, what else? Oh yeah, The Acolyte! Star Wars The Acolyte comes out on Tuesday. I'm in it. I think they're releasing the episodes like 2 and then 1 a week. So you won't see me in the first 2, but then you might see me after that. If you got, keep your eyes peeled, I have a little role in it. You'll see me there. I saw the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte at the premiere the other night. It rules. It's genuinely really good. They really take serious. It's like, so it's not spoiling too much to tell you that it's a murder mystery set in the Star Wars universe. So somebody murders a Jedi, and then the Jedi have to investigate, and it's set 100 years before anything else in the Star Wars universe. And they really take seriously this idea that like the Jedi are cops and everyone hates the Jedi because they're cops. And it really takes seriously this idea that like, it's very disturbing that the cops in this universe are A, religious cult that like recruits children, and B, has the power to read or potentially wipe your mind. Like they actually use that as part of their police investigation. And they are not like, it's not just like, well, they're kind of like cops. It's like, greetings, citizen. Like, it's like very, very clear that the Jedi are cops, and it really takes that seriously, and kind of like that. So I've seen the first 2 episodes, haven't seen the rest, haven't seen my episodes yet, but I really, really liked what I saw. Like in the theater, we were like, wow, this is so good. So, yeah, I'll talk more about Star Wars and like my experience filming it and everything when the whole show is out and we've all had a chance to watch it. So yeah. Speaking of acting, next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, it's going to be a big acting announcement. Tuesday is what they told me, but that might end up being Wednesday when the time zones get sorted out. So Next week you will find out what super redacted is and why I got so buff last year. I'm excited. It's gonna be a good one. Yeah. So yeah, next week is gonna be a heck of a week. It's gonna be a game changer. Amethyst says, so you're playing a cop. You think I'd join the Jedi? Come on. Come on. Not in a million years would I join that Jedi scum. Eliza Wheeler says, will you get an action figure? I don't know. That's not up to me. I doubt it, because it's a very small role. But, yeah, next week, this one might be a game changer. Maybe. I don't know. That's always the thing with acting is, you never know. You never know whether this is going to be the big thing. That's what everyone tells me. A lot of people have told me, like, this is going to be the thing that really propels you. And I'm like, is it? Like, is anyone going to care? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But it's a big deal. It's a role that I had a lot of fun doing. I think it's the most fun I've had on an acting job so far in my career. Is this thing that's going to be announced on Tuesday? Not that like Star Wars and Baldur's Gate 3 and stuff wasn't fun. They were all really fun, but I just had a fucking blast doing this thing that's going to be announced next week. I had such a great time, and like everyone involved was cool. The stuff that I do in it is really cool and potentially kind of groundbreaking for trans actor. Like, kind of cool to do that. There's a particular type of role that a lot of trans femme actors get sent up for at the moment, and it's cool that this is not that. It's cool that it's like, I've never really seen a trans woman do stuff like this before, and like kind of feels like we should have done, but when this drops, I'm gonna be in a casting of one. You know, I'm not gonna be in the same casting as Hunter Schafer or Hari Neff or India Moore and like all the sort of former runway model girls. That's not my casting. I'm gonna be in a new kind of casting that no one's really seen a trans woman do before. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be real fun. I'm excited for it. Yeah, exciting times. We'll find out next week. In the meantime, sleep tight, have fun, be cool. Brendan Mallory, I don't know. I'm more of a cat. And then they said cat girl. I'm more of a cat space girl. And Jared Troth, thank you so much for your super chat. Oh, I'm sleepy now. I think I'm going to get myself a nice cup of bedtime tea. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.